Welcome to TradeTheNBA.com. This is John. This report is for the 22nd of February, and you can just see we're just riding across this 2762 support level here that was previous algo level, and it's fine. We're pushing up against the dip in the Fibonacci 100%, so that move back down to it just allows it to be, well, right at the peak level, which is what we saw for rising gold. It's flattening out now. We do have new rising azure, so we might now need to look for those to meet. So all in all, pretty even stuff. It is weak from a DOC reading, except for we have steel coming from underneath. So that provides some short-term balance. The ability for new money to just pop in still exists, and that just makes it capable for sustaining where we're at. Now, ABM levels right at the NASDAQ. We noticed that the NASDAQ was just a little bit different in that even though it was producing the same situation, we were also in that rising gold, rising azure. So pretty strong from the time frame. I mean, this is all the way from the beginning of the year moving forward. So it's been pretty decent. The euro is still right down in this lower, and we weren't expecting a lot because we never got a dip below the red line with the DOC orange, even though we've made lower lows on the higher extreme. That's what's produced this bounce. But we would expect if we're going to get a rollover here, we're in the red, which I'm looking for here below the negative 7.5. That should create a new low in the euro, which would be interesting because a break of the 110 range would be a shock to many, considering the euro was supposed to be skyrocketing at this particular point. No such effect because the U.S. economy is really way outperforming. Still at the positive extreme, 8, no surprise there. Got a little bit further to go down on this one. Hardly a shock in that case. The 5K was kind of fun. We had that pre-market peak that was going at a lot of positive extremes. Took that one. It was a nice ride. I even got in a little bit later from the pre-market one and did a secondary short that led to another 10 plus points. And then we came down to this critical move here. So we had the first dip below the negative 13.5 on the shakeout. And then we made a lower version. So what I look for at that point is a cross of the yellow, creating, well, a greater than 2.5 spread is what you're looking for. So 25 to the 22, more than enough. And the bonus is having the histogram below the negative 13.5. Might seem counterintuitive, but what it suggests is that you haven't had a move yet that is going to be overbought. And sure enough, it actually made a new low off of that. Not that significant. And then we just went sideways for what seemed like forever before it finally took off. So it was a very long trade, but it was still quite successful. And then we got towards a flattening of the gold. So you had all that gold rising. So all these little pops of the side, nothing, wasn't doing anything with it. And then boom, flat. And then, okay, boom, the first one came. It was right at the highs. We still made a little bit higher high. How many points heat did I take on that one? From 80.75 to 81.75. So it was a full point upside down before the turnaround. Then full DOC spread was a little bit later below the 76, and that produced a nice ride down lower. And then same situation here. All right, so it's down below, but in this particular case, you had to cross with the 2.5 point spread, but inside the negative 13.5, and you can see it creates that little dip coming back down because it's not a guarantee that it's overbought per se, but what it means is that you've already had a significant updraw, which if you start to look at the extreme at that point, starting to see the yellow ones, it's like, okay, even if you were long at this point, it wouldn't be stopped because you didn't create a new low anyway, but nonetheless, I prefer getting the secondary DOC red, higher pivot, and dip below, and boom, take off from there. And then, of course, it creates its little 50% retrace from that move and starts the next, so, that ABC effect that you hear so much about. But all in all, a good day. It was pretty straightforward stuff. I like showing you one about the double setup here when you're below that negative 13.5 because it does happen significantly. And if we look at the 50K adjustment too, you can see that it started its break a little bit later there below the ABM break, right there at the ABM, which was, well, at the same 2780 range on a 50K standpoint. So, of course, the MBI Opus likes this setup. Not a thrill in my mind, but it's not doing anything. It's just blasé. And it's just an indecision period right now in the market, which is fine. Take it, it'll be consolidating. As it compresses in this range, though, you're going to get a much stronger breakout as soon as we get a clarification signal. For the time being, that daily is still expressing some weakness with the cyan above red and green actually below. There's enough short-term power down here that as long as it doesn't roll over, we should maintain ourselves. As always, though, trade well. I will keep updating you as anything relevant happens.